Irv Da Phenom. You guys familiar with Irv Da Phenom? He was rapping kind of the blog era and before and whatnot. He shared this video on January 1st. So it's a little bit old, but it's worth talking about. And he addressed the Joey Bada song with lines about the West Coast and talked about new media that covers hip-hop for clicks, covering hip-hop outside of just beef and popular topics, and a whole bunch of stuff. So I just wanted to kind of play this, and we can kind of stop and kind of react to this in real time as it's playing, and then, go from there.
Okay.
Let's go.
People are saying that Joey Badass just took shots at Kendrick because we're coming off this year where Kendrick ignited the energy in hip-hop, where it's back to a blood sport. It's back on some gladiator stuff. I'm not mad at it. Don't say, yo, Joey is nice, Joey been nice, if you haven't been covering his other shit before the diss, okay?
Can you pause it?
Say that.
Yeah.
So look, here's my thing with that, since we're going, we're going to break it down. It's the corniest thing ever to champion Joey Badass in this Kendrick situation, whatever you want to call it, and have no knowledge of him. That's the corniest thing that you can possibly do. To not know anything about Joey Badass and be able to say, oh, Joey spitting, Joey gonna give Kendrick that smoke. Fam, you don't even listen to Joey Badass. I've never heard you talk about him. You don't mention him. You don't know anything about him. Pro era, none of that stuff. That's the extreme, that's the most corniest thing you could possibly do, bro.
That was a different angle than I was going to take.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking about me in general. Like,
sure.
That's so corny, bro, because so many people will just jump on the bandwagon to, it's like sliding somebody over. Who's anti-Kendrick? Okay, slide this person in the spot. Slide this person in the spot. You don't even like Joey Badass.
Yeah.
You're a cornball when you
don't
do
even
that.
you can't even say, oh yeah. You don't have enough credibility or even have paid enough attention to say, oh yeah, the dude from Power Book 3 is dissing.
Yeah, like
From Wu-Tang.
or from Wu-Tang or from, I can't remember.
at least say that. Like, just try to tie it in somehow. But
yeah,
you're
but
like,
you
nah,
you think this is somebody new just jumping out the window talking crazy about Kendrick, and you're willing to ride with it because you don't like Kendrick.
Joey be rapping, man. You don't even know Joey. Like, cut it out, fam. You're a cornball for doing
falls
that.
in the situation too. We as content creators around the hip hop realm that report on things, and we report on all things that are relevant to hip hop,
Right.
versus somebody that just jumped into this game
Yes, that's what the angle I was
and
going to
just
take.
wants to talk about it just because it kind of gives you kind of a hip hop relevance.
Yeah.
And
There
you
it
don't
is.
know what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
There it
essentially.
is.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I see with this. Not to take anything away from what Joey Badass did. I feel a certain type of way about that too, but that's neither here nor there while he's talking.
Right.
So that's just how I personally feel about it. People that address this and they don't know what's going on really.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that the Kendrick beef did with Drake did do is that it spawned and gave a lot of face time and notoriety is not necessarily the right word, but just it amplified a lot of people's careers that covered it extremely heavy. Like,
True.
we covered it, but we didn't make it our goal. You know what I mean? Like, we still
talk about other stuff.
We covered hip hop
Yeah.
at that time. You know, like it wasn't like, oh, let's just do Kendrick because this is for clicks.
It wasn't 12 weeks of Kendrick with us.
Yeah, and so there's nothing. I mean, look, there's plenty of channels that did, and they had great coverage, and that's
Right.
cool.
Right.
But I understand what Irv is saying as well too, because it's, I don't know. Let's just let him talk a little bit more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, y'all. That was my first pause.
No,
but
that's
y'all
all-
go ahead.
it's all
Go
good.
ahead.
It is what it is.
If this is your first time putting Joey Badass on your channel, covering Joey Badass's music, and acknowledging that he's dope on your platform, you part of the problem. Because it'd be the same ones that swear they're like hip-hop heads and they really for the culture, but they don't actually promote or support dope hip-hop shit unless it's like a diss. Y'all part
Talk to him.
I know everybody monetizing and getting their little money. That's cool, whatever. But a lot of y'all be trying to be playing around in the culture when it's convenient, and y'all ain't really pushing it forward. Y'all just
Talk to him.
Yeah.
But hey, get your money. If I
That's
go
crazy
back,
that he said that though, because I've never seen this interview, and he pretty much took my thought process in the situation.
Yeah.
And pretty much said exactly what I'm thinking. So yeah.
No, absolutely. Like
He's spot on, bro.
you know, like it's one of those things too. Like as Terry and I can really relate to this type of mindset because for a very long time, and this is why I want to do a longer video on it. But for a very long time, like the things that we did we didn't do for any other reason other than it was what should have been done.
Yeah, we were being actual tastemakers.
Yeah, like it was like, this is good, let's share it. But the problem that you run into sometimes is that, and I think he's going to touch it a little bit here, is that the problem with this is there's this interesting dichotomy or this interesting thing that happens to where, like, just because you want to be a tastemaker and you want to share stuff, the problem is that it doesn't mean that that's what people are going to click on.
That part.
And you know, you can bang your head against the wall for a very, very long time, which we did. And we literally, like, we did that for like a decade. And so, like, it's tough. But at the same time, like, I personally have more respect for people, not even talking about us, but like, I have more respect for people that amplify those voices in the best way that they can. So, you know, as opposed to just all of a sudden, the only things that they cover are hot top, you know, like academic style.
Yeah,
that's the only thing that he does, you know, stuff like that. But
I'm glad you said that, because we do not fall in that category.
Not even close.
It's not even close to, you know, the gossipy, like the corny content type stuff. We don't do that.
It's not about us, though.
It's not about us, but I'm just saying, like, we don't do that.
Well, you know, I'll very quickly make it about us. You know, unfortunately, when we lost Nipsey Hussle,
Yes.
you know, there were a lot of people who were like, yeah, you know, the marathon continues this, that, and the third. And you had never said anything about Nipsey Hussle when he was alive.
Talk to him.
Yeah.
You know, we are not in that category.
At all.
When this album came out, we told everybody how dope it was.
Yep.
True.
Now, we were a much smaller channel then,
Yep.
you know, but at the same time,
Talked
like,
about him prior to Victory Lap coming out.
Exactly. We didn't all of a sudden decide we wanted to be Nipsey Hussle fans and act like we cared when we, you know, saw the, you know, his home going at the Staples Center.
That part.
You know, and I think that's where a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I should talk about Nipsey Hussle now.
Yeah.
And no. If you, and I get it. It's about clicks. It's about engagement. It's about this, that, and the third. But I'll just give us the props and say we gave Nipsey his flowers when he was here. We didn't, and we've talked about Joey Badass before he dissed Kendrick.
Talk to him.
You know, so I'm just saying, shout out to all you other, but everybody get your profile up, do what you got to do. But I'm just saying, you know, there are a lot of content creators out here who talk about these people when they're not doing something controversial. They don't wait for somebody to die for them to talk about them, you know, because they're actually fans of the culture and actually fans of the music.
Well said.
We've been sharing Joey Badass since 1999.
Thank you, sir.
Not the year, but the album.
the project. Yeah.
Thank you.
In your uploads, I'm not going to find a video of you talking about the dope ass new album they dropped, the dope ass new video they dropped. I'm not going to find anything about them until they drop a diss record. So what we doing? A lot of y'all got lightweight Culture Vulture vibes too. If you really pushing this shit forward, fuck with the real MCs every time they drop. Promote the real MCs when they drop, not just when it's something chatty patty or salacious. That's just me. And we don't want to see the same damn breakdown analysis.
But with that too, I will say, like, there is something to be said about, like, it's not that easy though. Like, we combat this on a regular basis. Even when we pick topics, we're like, all right, how do we tie in Joey Badass into something? How do we tie these artists into something to where people will actually click on them? Because look, people out there, like, this is a content driven society. People really like content right now.
Yes.
And a lot of people like content more than they like music. People like people talking about it. And it's just kind of where we're at right now. And this is something that I've struggled with for a very long time. And you guys all know, like, what are the best ways to push these artists? It's literally the reason why I started bringing down the band.
Yeah, it's a situation where some of us actually have a thought process and a moral compass behind what we're doing, because we're not only part of the culture, it lives in us. And it's something, it's more than just doing something just to get a click or just to get somebody to see what we're saying. This is part of who we are. So everybody doesn't have that same, you know what I'm saying, type of thing running through them. It's more of a money grab at this point, or follower grab. Yeah. Essentially a social currency. So,
social currency, that's the one. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
Of you repeating what DJ Academics or Screwface John or the company man. We got enough of the guys that give us great breakdowns, great analysis. But everybody else, just Wrap it up, bro. Promote your homeboy. Promote your dope-ass homeboy. I know you might not get a bunch of views on it because
there it is.
You're not dissing one of the biggest artists in the game. But if you really about this culture, put me and other people like me up on a dope MC, a dope new artist that nobody knows about who's really dope. Use your platform for that. If you really,
you know what's crazy, Lone?
Great pause, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Looking right at the camera.
Yeah, he is.
What do you want? What do you want, Mike?
This is what I want. We tend to talk about culture vultures, right? And the first thing we think about is Adam 22, Vlad, all these types of people. At least for me, I'm speaking for myself. But culture vultures they look different, and they are more versatile than you think. And he's alluding to that when he talks about this. You'd be surprised what a culture vulture actually is, and he's breaking that down as he talks about this, because what he's saying, there's so many people that do what he's talking about.
Right.
We don't
record labels are the first culture vultures.
No, I'm with you on that. 100%. I'm with you on that, bro. But what I'm saying is, we know people that do what he's talking about that could literally be labeled as culture vultures. It's deeper than Vlad and Adam 22. I'm just using those two for me. It's way deeper than that.
Right.
Otherwise, you just like one step away from a culture vulture, especially if you're just repeating the lyrics that everybody else is just repeating with the same title headline. But get your money, man. Get your money. Yeah, just in 2025, let's really shift the culture. All right? Kendrick did a lot. The Kendrick and Drake thing did a lot. But this time, let's do more than just like, all right, we got this MC, this and the next MC to gain relevance and get in the spotlight. The reason MCs are doing this is because most of the people who are the outlets don't fuck with good music when it comes out. Y'all fuck with headlines and clout chasing shit. But then turn around in the same breath and complain about the lack of innovation in music. Well, if there was a demand for innovation in music and original styles and content, you would have more artists prioritizing that instead of dissing who's popping. So that
Preach.
Does this make sense? Am I the only one who gets this? You had the mixtape DJ era where DJs were putting us as hip hop heads up on new music. Who was dope? Who had the streets on lock? Who had a genuine movement? Who had motion in their city? That's who we got up on. That's like the Jeezy era, the 50 Cent era, that whole class of artists. After that, you had my generation, where we're on the tail end of mixtape, but we're entering the blog era. The blog era, in my opinion, and it's not just because where I came up, in my opinion, the blog era was like the last era of true taste making.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Talk to him, Lone. Lone, talk to him. Speak on it.
No, I just agree. After that, playlisting happened.
Yeah.
And playlisting is not really tastemaking. I mean,
no, it's not.
It's like,
playlisting is finding what's popular and making a playlist.
Yeah, like, and don't get me wrong, I playlist. You know what I mean? And that's all that I can do. But the reason why I only playlist is because none of these platforms out here allow us to legitimately reach our people.
Yeah.
In a way that allows us to push artists on. Like, I've been preaching this about YouTube for years. Like, it would be dope if I didn't have to be poor to promote people's music. It would be cool if if there was like YouTube allowed some really cool cross promotion, like, let me promote this person's music over here and let us listen to it and let us do profit sharing.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be one or the other? Why do we have to get blocked? Now, granted, I know it's not just YouTube. I understand that it's major record labels and all that stuff, but like, when blogging went away, there's no real platform that does this without like, it's just like you have to dance around like this copyright thing and potentially stealing content, which I understand to a degree, but there's no good way for us to share really dope stuff and to reach people unless we are like an Anthony Fantano or, Aiden Ross. Yeah. And I'm not going to be him.
It's all promotion at the end of the day that benefits said artists. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense. But, to his point, I will agree that the blog era was probably the last golden era of hip hop.
I 100% agree.
No. There was a time when, with the blog era, especially with Bringing Down the Band, Bringing Down the Band was one of those blogs. Let's not get it twisted. Lakeshore Drive, all these places like that.
Two Dope Boys.
Two Dope Boys.
Give credit where credit is
Okay,
due.
okay player, you know.
Yeah, like all these spots were places where I literally would go to hear what's going on. And it's not underground, it's everything. So you had some that were skewed towards the underground and some that were skewed towards this or that. But at the end of the day, I went to these places to find out what was going on. And there was something about that was special because I knew said website had credentials to be able to, you know, for me to be able to say, yeah, it's going to be legit if I go here.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like that.
You knew when you
I
went.
knew where to go.
You knew
right?
that when you went to Two Dope Boys, it was Shake and Mecca.
Thank you.
And you knew about Shake and Mecca's taste because of what they continued to post and what they didn't post.
Exactly.
And you know, granted, they changed formats after a while and they started kind of sharing everything. But in the early days of Two Dope Boys, they were very kind of niche hip hop. And
100%.
I remember going to their website, and shouts to both of them, like 9 out of 10 posts everything would be a banger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they changed it up, and then they kind of collected everything.
What's the website? SOHH.
I never really followed.
I
it,
went to them. I went to them
But
too.
that's even pre-blog era.
Yeah.
But I went to them.
in
You
the
can actually
90s.
buy mixtapes off of there.
I went to them like to find. That's where I found Wale. Was on SOHH.
That's kind of similar, like Dat Piff a little bit. Like it wasn't necessarily just a mixtape.
That's fair. That's fair.
But you could actually purchase things on there.
DJ Booth was another one. Shouts to
Yeah.
DJ and them. And you know they were now right. You know there were lots of you know Ill Roots and they all kind of had their own. Every blog kind of had their own little subtle niche difference. There's a lot of cross on all of them, but you could go to one and you could get a particular sound.
When I was living in Chicago, I didn't go anywhere outside of Lakeshore Drive. That's the place I went to because I knew Barber and whoever was on his staff was tapped in. That's the only place I went to. And then it would branch off and we go from there. But as it relates to Chicago, Midwestern stuff, I went there.
Yeah.
Outside of y'all, I mean, y'all don't count because that's family, but
Right.
yeah, like I went there.
It's like y'all don't count.
Yeah, that don't count. Y'all, these my brothers, they don't count. But yeah, when Chicago hip hop, Midwest, I'm going there. Like it was trusted. I knew that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and our bias was more so like Midwest, Chicago,
yeah,
but everything else too.
Yeah.
But also we made it an intention to cover the Midwest and Indiana.
there's
Because
so
nobody
most
else.
part.
there's so
nobody
many
else
people
was.
that were on bringing. There's people on bringing down the band that were featured that grew to be something else.
Oh, there's a lot. We were low key AR and shit.
Come on, like there's so many people that you can go back through the archives and be like, dang, they were, you know, Lone posted them and Terry, they posted these guys 10 years ago, 15, 20 years ago.
We damn near predicted what the music,
Come on.
the most popular people are now. We damn near predicted
Come on,
that shit
man.
a long time ago.
Yep.
But that's neither here nor there.
Yep. Keep it moving.
Because Shake from Two Dope Boys and
There we go.
There it is.
Hip Hop crew and XXL.com and Hip Hop DX and all them. They was really curating whose music they fucked with. Yes, they had headlines if somebody did something crazy, you know what I mean? But it was really about, yo, check out this new dude who's super dope out of Wisconsin, out of, you know, Kansas City, Missouri, out of wherever. We not doing that no more. Every time I get on here, because I'm staying on some hip hop. You know, the closest thing I got to a hip hop blog now was like getting on YouTube and watching a lot of the homies who do dope breakdowns, and they got good taste on music, and they have unique takes and perspectives on whatever the thing that everybody's talking about is. But after a while, nigga, you talking about shit 45 times in a day.
Yeah.
So to his point, so Deleted had made a video against a certain YouTuber named Dirt.
Yeah. What's the dirt?
That pretty much looks at everybody's content and then creates his content. That's exactly what he's pretty much talking about. I mean, it's Attack of the Clones at this point.
Yeah.
Because I can pull from all of these people who are reputable when it comes to actually knowing what's going on when it comes to hip hop, and just follow their trend or just piggyback off what they're doing. If I'm not familiar with this said individual, I'm stealing his content and using it for myself, acting like I'm a professional at this.
Right.
Where in turn, you really don't know what's going on out here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that.
Line. Like, if we want to push it forward in 2025, let's start actually putting people up on good music. Here's the problem. A lot of y'all ain't got good taste.
Talk to him.
A lot of folks ain't got good taste. You have no good taste. A lot of this shit on YouTube now is the music press equivalent of niggas that dress off the mannequin. That go to the mall,
Damn.
outfit on the mannequin, be like, hey, give me everything on that. In a fashion circle, that's not the wave. That's not fly. Niggas that dress off the mannequin have never been cool. Be bold enough to put us as the music listeners, as hip hop heads, as the culture, put us up on what you fuck with. Be a tastemaker. I challenge anybody who has a blog page, a reaction page, or whatever. I challenge you in 2025, put your followers and subscribers up on something that you stand, something that you say is dope because you got good taste in music. If you don't have good taste in music, or you're not confident enough in your taste in music, you're not really a hip hop head.
Yeah.
Well,
He preaching right
that is
there.
absolute facts.
He preaching right there.
I would say again to that, like, I 100% agree with him, but there is that other caveat of, for example, let me just check really quick. I'm just going to go because I made 2 community posts on bringing down the band. And let's just look at the stats of the 2 posts that I shared. So I just posted 2 things. One was, here's a new Mick Jenkins that just dropped with the link to the video. It got 15 likes. There was another really dope vibe from this band called Kurajbin, called Pon Pon.
I know it starts with a K.
Kurajbin, Khrua, right?
Yeah, they did a album with
Talking
Leon.
to Mike.
I'm sorry, Leon. Not Thomas. Leon.
Not Bridges.
Yeah,
Bridges.
They did
Bridges,
a joint album with him. Yeah.
So I shared both of these back to back. The Mick Jenkins one got 15 likes, which isn't crazy, but the other one got 3. And both records are super dope.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so to his point and to my point, I guess, is like, it's such an uphill battle.
It is.
It's like, I can't explain like how, unless you have something.
I can. A little bit.
Okay.
I literally just had this conversation with one of my friends that lives in France, and he was talking about how because he has a content show as well that he's trying to put out. He draws pictures of social figures and puts them up on YouTube, and that is actually doing pretty good right now. And he talks about how he tags people that are local here to try to give him the push to push it along. They don't know who he is, so they're not going to. And that kind of falls into this music situation. They don't want to listen to something because nobody else gave them the permission to say that this is dope. Nobody wants to go out on a limb and say, I think this is dope myself, so I'm going to support it.
That part.
Nobody wants to take that. They're waiting for people to give them permission to say that something's good. And this kind of falls back to our last conversation about the LaMelo Ball song or LiAngelo Ball. Everybody else is on track saying that, oh, this is dope. They might even say it's funny, but they're still sharing it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, whether it's good or bad, you only share it because everybody else is telling you to. It's like you don't know how to even listen to music now without somebody else telling you how to use your ears.
Nobody's
and I think that's what bothers us because we listen to music differently. Yeah. So I can do a party and Jay Moore is hosting it, and I'll play a song, Jay Moore is hype about it. Yeah. And we're looking at the crowd and they're just like, this is cool. There might be a couple people in the crowd that are really vibing to it, but they're not familiar with it.
Yeah, they want something they know.
Yeah.
I mean, just like you had been playing Shout to Dead Silence. You've been playing his records for a minute.
Yeah.
And like he's getting he's getting nice looks now.
Yeah.
And I'm glad because I think he's talented. I think he makes quality records, but it was like, well, y'all might react to it now because y'all saw him on, the news.
Right.
Yeah. He got some shine from some other outside outlets, but I was like, yo, this dude's he's been putting out this dope content for a minute. I mean, it's just like, I have people who know me and who have never really thought anything about the New Old Heads podcast, whatever. I mean, they acknowledge it, but then they saw Company Man on the show.
Yes.
And they want to talk to me all about podcasts and content creation. And I was like, we didn't have to, he found us essentially.
That part.
And said, hey, I'd like to be like, it wasn't like we had to beg him to come on here and do a show with us. This happened very organically.
Very organically.
You got to remember too, though, a lot of people, and this is pretty much what we are describing. There are no independent thinkers. Everybody it's sheep now.
There are is just a hive.
Well, the majority is not.
Yeah.
To your point, the majority are not independent thinkers. I think
it's always kind of been that way, though.
Yeah.
Do you think it's been mostly sheep versus independent thinkers?
I mean, like, even when I talk about like the stuff that even Terry and I are talking about, like, we have data
Yeah.
about this. Like, we did this. We shared 12,000 posts.
That's true.
That's
like
true. We have data on like what people, it's just more of the same. Like,
let me ask you this, Lone.
Okay.
Because you're someone that can actually speak to it, because you are a person that was thriving in the blog era to now.
Okay.
I'm saying that. No, you was thriving. It definitely was thriving.
Different definitions of thriving.
Well,
I guess,
successful
a lot of
or
work.
Yeah, a lot of work.
a lot of work for nothing.
Yeah.
So would you
I
say?
can't even talk about the crossroads where I was like, "Hey man, this."
So would you say that now in 2025 are there less independent thinkers than there were when you first initially started bringing down the band, and how that
I think it's
progressed?
I think it's an extremely pessimistic way to look at it to say that people are not independent. I feel like I think the problem here is less about the person, less about like labeling somebody not an independent thinker, and more so about like what we're thrust into. Like, because of the way the algorithms work, the way that our brains are, like
talking about programming, essentially.
programmed,
Yeah, programming.
the way that everything does, the way the technology is moving. Like, I don't necessarily put it on the consumer necessarily. It's just frustrating.
That's exactly what I was about to say. That the word that I think of every time I think about this shit is frustration.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to curating and being a tastemaker at a certain level,
right,
trying to put people on is hard.
The battle is finding the people that actually want to be put on,
right,
and are okay with it, and want to come back and like express the gratitude, and not even the gratitude necessarily, but just like care enough to like care about the thing, to push the thing, to, because it's like there's so much that I don't even know how to explain it, man. Because it's not even like we know. I'm not going to speak for Terry, but I know that we're coming from the same area. But like, I never did this because I wanted to be out front. If I did, if I did, I would have put my picture. It would be my face on there instead of like bringing down the bands. Like, I always wanted to be in the back. I wanted to push the music. I wanted to push the stuff that was good. And the thing is I think it would have done better if our faces were on there, because then people would have been able to relate to us.
They would have associated you with.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
but
I see what you're saying.
But I never wanted that. Like, I just wanted to push the people that were dope, and the psychology around it. You learn later is like, okay, we probably should have did it differently or whatever. But and it's not like we did horrible or anything like that.
We made moves, we made waves, but in the same token, I feel like there were certain people that should have appreciated what we were doing, and we did not receive those props in return. And it wasn't even necessarily that we wanted the props. It's more like at least a recognition.
It's the momentum behind it.
That we're actually putting on for you.
Yeah.
And we're doing work. This is tireless work for you, and for you to kind of just not care
I think Lone made a very good point there when he says momentum versus props.
It's not about the props.
It's not about the props. It's not about the props.
It was about, like, if we could establish enough momentum to get enough people to check out the things that we're sharing to push, then we get enough people to be like, oh, it plays into the psychology, right? Because then people are like, oh, this is somebody to check out. This is something. Don't get me wrong. There were other blogs that were more successful in that, and that's cool. Like, that's great. I'm happy that there were some.
For sure.
But like, we had our own type of specific niche, and we were trying to carve it out specifically for the Midwest and for Indiana. And it was like, and we never got the momentum around it enough to really like significantly be the change that like a Fake Shore Drive was for Chicago. We didn't
get the city. Yeah, we didn't get that behind us like Chicago had.
There you go.
Fake Shore Drive.
And I saw that in real time.
Yeah,
the city was 100% behind.
And I'm okay taking the blame. It is my fault. That's fine. That's cool. But it wasn't for like a lack of trying different things or trying to do the right thing. You know what I mean? It was just like we saw it, and it was like, well, we have to play the game this way, and we were both kind of like, Well, I don't want to do that.
I feel like this guy's talk to us and he doesn't know us, but we're definitely along the
You
same.
can definitely relate.
Yeah, we could have some conversations because what he's saying is spot on everything that he's saying.
Yeah, I'm familiar with Irv Da Phenom.
So shout out to him, man. Like
we probably definitely shared his music in the past.
Yeah. Salute to this brother, man.
Is there more to this interview?
No, that's it.
That's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Nah, he was on point with this one.
He dropped some gems, and now since we are in a different creative space as content creators and as people that, you know what I'm saying, talk about hip hop, he's definitely spot on, especially because like my feed on YouTube is pretty much geared towards what I'm into.
Right.
So sometimes it'll sneak somebody in that I'm not interested in, and it's just because they're talking about the exact same thing that I just heard somebody else talk about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah. We're in that day and age now.
Shout out to Irv, man. We salute.
It's just kind of crazy, you know, when you think about people are just waiting on permission to think something is cool or to like it. I think Brother to the Night was on this, or maybe it was we had a personal discussion right before or right around the time the Tyler album came out.
Yeah. Yes,
and we talked about like, you know, should we try to play Sticky?
Yeah, we were talking about that on the show.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, it's like, I remember him dropping that in the club, and people were just like, what is this? What is this? Looking around. But then when they heard Sexy Red's voice, they're like, okay, we can like this.
Yeah.
For the record, DJ Jay Diff and myself said,
me as well,
and Lone as well said Sticky was gonna go. Do you remember that?
No, I remember it. Now I was just worried because, like, you know, when I structurally,
for sure,
the time it took the bass line to hitting that, and the fact that like you hear Tyler first, like it's probably 2 minutes before Sexy Red comes on.
It is.
You know,
but we said.
But then like now I see as crazy as there's this stickiest shout out to Delta Sigma Theta sorority incorporated.
Yeah.
But then there's some controversy behind that. I'm not gonna get. I'm not gonna get in them folks' business.
Jackson State did Sticky.
it? Yeah.
FAMU, I believe. If I'm not mistaken.
My brother-in-law and sister-in-law came in town during Christmas, and they were singing it. And they are not Tyler the Creator fan
at all.
So it is taking on a life of its own. You know, I just remember thinking, okay,
they're from Maryland. One of them's from here, the other one's from Texas, but they live in Maryland.
But Jay, we predicted that one, brother.
Yeah.
We said that one was gonna be one of them ones.
But at the same time, I understood where Jay was coming.
Yeah, I mean, because I have you know my metrics, and for what I see, where okay, it could have went either way. I was leaning towards it would not work, just because of where the bass line hits and how it leaves a whole lot of space for people. You know, a lot of times people they give you 30 seconds, you know, and then like I said, Tyler is not that club. He's not that voice you hear in the club.
He's not.
But a good DJ is gonna cue that mug up right around the time Sexy come in,
and that's what happens.
What's supposed to be done.
That's what happens now.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
Taste making is hard, John.
That's what Lone.
Just for the record.
That's what Lone would do. Lone would start it right around the time Sexy comes in.
No, I wouldn't. That's why I'm not a DJ.
I will say this too.
He ain't lying.
I'll say this too. Indianapolis is hard when it comes to taste making. I know people say if you make it in New York, you can make it in anywhere. Listen,
talk to him.
If you can make it in Indianapolis, Indiana, anywhere from here, shout
honestly,
out to
the
Freddie
Midwest
Gibbs.
in general.
Midwest, yeah.
Hey, you are doing something. Like I used to see Freddie Gibbs at the Circle City Classic handing out mixtapes. I got one from him before he was the Freddie Gibbs that we know now.
Right.
That part.
You know what I'm saying? So to make it here is a whole different beast. I've seen people come to One After Work from other cities and be like, I wish we had something like this in my city. The type of selections that you're playing fits right in.
Yeah.
Like there is a pocket of people that enjoy it. But for the most part, we are a city that just listens to things that people tell you. But
also too, like we mentioned in the first segment, like LA County is huge, has a larger population than the entirety of Indiana, and so like we have those people here. We just don't have that massive population to get super deep into the niches that we are into, and that's just part of the That's part of the struggle with it.
It is.
You know?